Hey guys, this is the mind of Lilith, and thank you all for joining me today. I hope everyone is doing well this weekend. Today I wanted to share my thoughts about some comments that Martell made a few days ago when he was feuding with Melody over social media. And he said to Melody while he was ranting that she did not have enough time for him and the children, or us, when they were married. You did not have enough time for us when you were married, right? And that was sort of a red flag for me because, and these are my opinions. I'm not saying this is fact, but I've always sensed that Martell wanted to create a division between Melody, and the children. He wanted to take the children from her, not just physically, but psychologically. And the first time I felt this way was last year when he had the children reciting, he had the two girls reciting the things that he was doing for them. And little Tank was staring at these girls in contempt, or he didn't agree with what was happening. But Martell went on Instagram last year and had his little children, his daughters, reciting the things that he was doing for them that maybe Melody was not. And he was trying to compare parenting back then when the divorce was still fresh. So Martell is filing for full custody, and I said that he doesn't really want full custody of the kids, not because he's a good man, but because he doesn't want the responsibility of taking care of 4 children when he doesn't even want the responsibility of taking care of the one child he has with Arion. Martell likes the idea of being the dominant parent. He likes the idea of being a single parent and, raising kids by himself and having full custody and full control of the children. But the actual reality of watching over 4 kids, providing for 4 children, nurturing them, raising them well, and sacrificing for them, that's not what he wants. And that's what he means when he says he does not want custody of the kids. Not because he's a good guy and he's trying to give Melody grace. No, it's because he doesn't really want the responsibility of watching those children. But I do think he wants to create a separation or a schism or a wedge between Melody and the children. When Martell said, "You did not have enough time for us," to me it felt like he was projecting his feelings of neglect onto the children. I don't think the children ever said they didn't have enough time with their mother. I don't think the children felt neglected by their mother, right? Melody was still cooking and cleaning for the children. She was still bonding with her daughters by doing their hair, right? She was bathing the children, when they were still young enough to be bathed by her. She was still a present parent. She was doing what Martell was not doing, okay? And so Martell may have compensated in other areas as far as discipline and maybe picking up the kids from school, but Melody was not absent enough for the children to feel neglected by her. That's my opinion. I don't think they said that. I think he is saying that because he felt neglected, and in an attempt to get the children to side with him, he is going to convince them that the reason why the marriage fell apart is because Melody was neglecting all of them. Not just him, but all of them sharing the same pain. We know that Martell does not like to take responsibility for his actions. We know that Martell likes to take credit for things that he has not done. That's why he called himself the primary breadwinner and the dominant parent. That means I'm earning more money than you because I'm working more than you. And that means that I am more present in these children's lives than you are. That's what primary and dominant means to me. However, with all of the control that Martell says that he had, in their relationship, in their lives, he doesn't want to take accountability for things falling apart. So on the one hand, Melody did not have enough time for him and the children because she was working so much. On the other hand, he was the primary breadwinner. That does not make any sense. On the one hand, he was a dominant parent in the children's lives, right? On the other, he's saying that the children felt neglected by Melody. When you're a dominant parent or you're a single parent, yes, you may miss one parent if they're always at work or you never see them or they're rarely at home or they don't live with you. But Melody was coming home every single day. And I remember one episode when Martell talked about Melody taking them to church. They went to church on the weekends, and Melody would make breakfast on the weekends and say, come get breakfast, everybody. So she would get up early in the morning, right? After probably being verbally abused by Martell the night before, getting up early in the morning to cook breakfast, no matter how tired she was, to take care of the family and nurture them. And then, she and Martell would take the children to church. So she was present in the children's lives. That's why I don't believe Martell when he says that she didn't have enough time for him and the children, right? I think he is transferring some of the blame for the divorce on the kids as well when he says this. Let me explain to you why. So when he says you did not have enough time for us, right? It's almost as if he's saying that I had to step out for us. I had to have an affair for us because we were being neglected. I had to look out for our needs. Because he does not want to take the blame for this by himself, and he wants to share the responsibility and the pain of the divorce, it's almost like he wants the children to be held accountable for his cheating too, because not held accountable, but he did it for the kids. Like, he was cheating because we were all being neglected. And instead of me spending more time with you guys, I decided to have an affair with another woman outside of my marriage because we're being neglected and we're not being taken care of. And your mother's only focused on her career. So because we were being neglected, I had to cheat. I had to go out there on our behalf and fight for us so that Melody could stay home with us. If Melody was doing what she was supposed to do, right, which was take care of you guys, then I wouldn't have had to cheat. This is his way of shifting the blame onto Melody while getting the children to buy into his story of Melody neglected him so that they can grow to resent her over time. I think the two girls, Boss Baby and the oldest daughter, they are a lot more vulnerable to this than Tank is, because young girls look up to their fathers more than young boys do, in my opinion. They have a different relationship, okay? Boys tend to be more protective of their mothers, and girls tend to be more protective, or I guess they're more supportive of their fathers, right? They want to be daddy's little girls, okay? So I think that Martell will try to get his daughters to take his side. And in order to do this, he has to constantly instill in them that Melody did not have enough time for us. She was always working. She never took the time out to be with her family. And the children may not have felt this way. They may have adapted to Melody working late and coming home and bringing dinner, and Martell being there with her, with their grandmother. That may not have been an issue for them, but Martell wants them to have an issue with that because he had an issue with that. And in my opinion, he wants them to accept his cheating, or he wants them to understand why he cheated by having them accept the blame for what he did, or by having them believe that they were being neglected by their mother. This is one of the reasons why Martell does not want a lot of people around his children. Yes, the sexual abuse thing is a very real concern. Melody has the same concern. But I think Martell's concern is more so the fact that he won't be able to spin the narrative with his children so that when they get older, they won't grow to resent him, and then he won't have narcissistic supply. His primary objective is to secure narc supply from his children, okay? Unconditional love, adoration, worship, smiles, happiness, hugs. My daddy is everything to me. He's never done anything wrong. Boozy, bleezy, blah. I've seen, ex-wives and ex-husbands use their children to emotionally abuse their spouse, right? Like a couple years ago, Iyanla Vanzant did a Fix My Life episode with Lisa Ray. And Lisa Ray's father was a pimp who was very abusive to Lisa Ray's mother. However, he treated Lisa Ray like a princess, okay? He weaponized his love for Lisa Ray against his wife. So he gave his daughter the love that he should have been giving to his wife as well. And that created friction between them that lasted years after he died, right? I think Martell is trying to drive a wedge between Melody and her children. Again, by projecting his own feelings onto the children, trying to get them to internalize his issues, right? Because there's no individuation when it comes to the narcissist. Everything and everyone around him is his property. He does not want his children to have an identity outside of him, or to have a belief system or a way of thinking that is out of alignment with the way that he sees the world, right? So in his world, his cheating was justified. And in order for him to justify his cheating to his children, he has to convince them that their mother was neglecting them. And there was a reason, there was a justification for him doing what he did. And some girls who are pick-me's will side with their fathers and say, well, mommy, if you were doing what you were supposed to do, then daddy wouldn't have cheated. Not understanding that Melody could not have done enough for Martell. He was never going to be satisfied with anything she did. And unfortunately, sometimes it takes being in a relationship with a narcissist for you to have sympathy for a narc abuse victim, right? I'm not saying that's what his daughters are going to go through. I hope they don't have to go through that. But I hope they don't fall for Martell's schemes and lies about their mother, because he's going to try to convince them that Melody was basically cheating with her job. So he cheated with another woman. And I did it for us. I did it because she was neglecting us. And they may not have felt that way. They may not have even expressed that. If they did, then Martell would have said this earlier, and he would have said it verbatim, right? He would have said, well, so-and-so told me that you missed this, or you don't see him for that. Or Melody and him would have had an argument about it on the show at some point. The issue was him. He said his needs weren't being satisfied, and his idea of a mother figure for the home and family was not being satisfied. So he wanted Melody to fit into a certain mold that he had in his mind, not what the children had in mind, right? Because his children may not have felt neglected. They may have felt loved and cared for because they had a village. They had Martell, they had Martell's mother, they had Melody's mother, they had Marcus, they had Melody. Melody was still doing things with them that was bonding, right? She was cooking for them, and she was doing the girls' hair at the very least, among other things. So she and Martell were spending time with kids, right? Before they would go to bed, Melody would pray. Wait, hold up. What is all this church stuff? Martell is, wow. So Martell was going to church every week, and he was cheating on his wife, verbally abusing her, taking credit for what she was doing, not being satisfied with anything. It's all about the image for him. I'm a church man. I go to church with my beautiful family on Easter Sunday, right? I'm the dominant parent. This is a fantasy of who he wants to be and how he wants the world to perceive him. Anyway, let me just go back to what I was saying. So yes, I'm concerned that Martell's going to brainwash his kids into thinking that his issues are their issues. I don't want them to internalize his pathology and his insecurities and his constant need for attention and validation. They may not need that. Some children, when you have siblings, they want to spend time with their siblings. They don't want to really spend time with their parents like that, right? If you remember in season 2, Martell was complaining that Melody did not want to get a nanny for the last baby, Sugar Mama, right? He was complaining that the baby was making too much noise and interrupting his beauty rest. And Melody said, well, I'm the one who gets up to take care of her when she wakes up. You don't have to do anything. You can go back to sleep. But somehow he was a dominant parent, right? Somehow he was burnt out. All of a sudden he's burnt out once Melody becomes way more successful and she starts to pursue her career more aggressively outside of Holton Hope, right? So being the dominant parent with Melody there, all this time you weren't burnt out. All of a sudden Melody's doing this show and you're burnt out because you're not doing as much as you said you were doing in the first place. If you were always doing what you said you were doing, then there will be no burnout because there will be no extra work on your plate, right? Because you were always the dominant parent and you were always the primary breadwinner. So Melody doing more work for her career should not have made a difference if you were doing it all anyway. And that was not the case. So again, Martell is trying to drive a wedge between Melody and the children. And she senses this. And this is going to be a long battle because it's not just a physical war. It's not just financial warfare. It's psychological warfare too. He wants to dominate those children and he wants to control Melody through those children. For him to record his daughter and their conversations, it shows that he does not care about her privacy. He does not mind using his daughter's words to hurt their mother. He doesn't have an issue with that at all. It is all about winning for him. And what is winning for him? Winning for him is destroying Melody and making Melody look as bad as he does, because he does not want to take all of the blame and the responsibility for the marriage falling apart. Yes, Melody could have stayed home more, fine, but that still would not have made Martell happy. He still would have been miserable. You know why he would have been miserable with Melody being at home? Because guess what? During the pandemic, Melody was home every day, all day, and the business was shut down. And Martell was cheating even more, to the point where he got somebody pregnant during the pandemic. So even when Melody was home every day, right? So the TV show was on hold. Melody's screenplay she was doing, that wasn't going to happen because of the pandemic. The businesses were kind of closed at this point. She was home all day, every day, right? To the point where she got pregnant again for a 5th time, right? Shortly after the lockdown started, and Martell was still creeping out. So he had everything he said he wanted, right? Melody was home every day with the kids and the babies, and he was still not satisfied. I hope his children understand that and have a full context of what's happened in this relationship, and they don't let Martell brainwash them. But he's going to try to do that. He's going to try to act as if he was, looking out for everybody. I'm looking out for my kids and my family. I want her to be home more with you guys. That was not the case. Because if they were really being neglected, then his ass would have been there more and not making babies with other females, right? His ass would have been compensating for what he said Melody wasn't doing if they were that neglected. Martell would have known how to cook and clean and do the girls' hair before the divorce if they were being neglected during the marriage, because he would have taken up the slack. In season 2, right after the baby was born, Melody said, Martell, you can't pick up the damn slack for just a short while I get this together for us. She was working for the whole family, as she had been the entire time. And Martell said, hell no, I got a wife. I shouldn't have to cook. Mr. Dominant Parent did not have to cook for the children that he felt were being neglected by their mother. So now it's we were being neglected. We, right? You didn't have enough time for us. First it was you weren't satisfying me, and now it's you're not satisfying us. If you remember in season 2, when Miss Marlene asked Martell if he was having a baby, and Martell was like, well, if she gonna talk about my dirt, let's talk about her dirt too. Let's do this together. Martell does not want to take sole responsibility for his part in destroying his relationship, okay? He wants Melody to share the blame with him for his choice to stick his penis in another woman for 5 years and get her pregnant. That was her fault. However, he deserves all the credit for making them successful because he's the primary breadwinner and the dominant parent. So again, just to recap for the 50th time, okay? Martell wants to credit for everything good that's happened in the family and their lives. And he wants to share the blame for everything that's bad that's happened, okay? He wants Melody to be held accountable for the things that he's done because he feels justified in doing this. What's interesting is that Martell could have still had his family intact if he did not cheat during the pandemic. So one of the reasons why he doesn't want to take responsibility for cheating during the pandemic, because what was the excuse? Your wife was home every day. Your wife was giving you sex to the point where she got pregnant again. Why wasn't he satisfied still? He wasn't satisfied still because it was never about that. And Melody figured it out. So after years of hemming and hawing and lying and reverse psychology and manipulation and deception, Martell finally admitted, at some point, you're going to get used to this. You need to stop complaining and speak to the older women in the community who were used to their man dogging them out because they did not have any money. But I want you to get used to me cheating on you, right? Even if you're at home every day, even if you're doing everything I say, right? Martell had to finally admit it because Melody's like, now, okay, I'm home every day. What happened? Why are you still going out? What is the issue? Weren't you complaining about this for 5 years? Wasn't that your excuse for 5 years and I'm not here? But now that I'm here, you're still cheating. So now Martell finally admits, after all that time, oh yeah, my bad. The issue really wasn't you working too much. The issue is the fact that I don't think I should have one woman. And you need to speak to the older women who are used to telling young girls like you to calm down and stay with a cheating man. So all these years of me calling you a liar, of me gaslighting you, of me abusing you and lying to you and manipulating you into thinking that you're working too much. Oops, I guess I was wrong, right? And he never comments about that. He never admits the fact that even during the pandemic, after he got everything he said he wanted, he was still unsatisfied. Okay? I think he told Dr. Francis that he could not let the women go. He couldn't let him go because one woman made him feel good, which was Ariane, and one woman made him look good, which was Melody. And because Martell has Moon square Venus, unfortunately, he will always be unsatisfied in relationships because his desires do not match his emotional needs. So he needs a woman like Melody to nurture and love him and give him support, but he desires ratchets. Those two aren't compatible energies, right? He doesn't want Ariane as a wife. To him, Ariane is a ratchet side piece. He wants a showpiece, a trophy, a traditional nurturing mother and wife on his arm, which is what Melody was. But unfortunately, again, because he is mentally ill and has emotional issues, he's not going to be happy with either. He needs to have both to feel satisfied in his life. That's why he couldn't choose. And that's why Ariane convinced herself that she was more valuable than she actually was. She was only valuable because Martell had Melody. If he doesn't have Melody, Ariane's presence just reminds him of where he came from, which is not a good place. So he needs someone who can make him feel like he's going somewhere in life, like he's made progress, like he's left the hood, like he's successful. That was what Melody is for. That's why I said the next woman he marries or claims is going to be of equal or greater status than Melody. I said this months ago. That is why he is so open to claiming Cherie now, right? Or Cherie. Which one is it? He's so open to claiming Cherie publicly, but he never publicly claimed Ariane, even though she has a whole baby by him and he ruined his entire life for her. She's not the status symbol that he needs to feel validated emotionally. Okay, so Melody's success is going to make Martell even more agitated. The more successful she becomes, the more angry and desperate he'll become. That's what this whole rant was about. It was about popping Melody's balloon. She was making too much money, making too many moves, meeting people in the Hamptons, buying expensive cars. She was flying too fast without him. And she warned him of this when they were married. But he had to clip her wings a little bit by reminding her of where she came from. You know how... If you grew up in the hood, right, and you grew up around people you had friends who were not successful, and then you became successful, and then your friends, so-called friends, try to remind you of where you came from, right? Don't get too big now. I remember when you were starving. I remember when you were ugly. I remember when you were poor, right? They try to remind you of where you came from in order to kind of deflate your bubble a little bit and to humble you and bring you down to size. Martell will constantly remind Melody of where she came from when it comes to him, right? It's almost like he needs her to look bad. He needs her to look bad to feel better about himself. It's not a want. It's a need, okay? He cannot sleep with the idea that Melody, successfully left him, and she's even more successful without him within a year of leaving him. She's making more money now than she was when she was with him, more than likely, okay? With the courses she was selling, with the a skincare line, with the music, with other things she's coming out with. She's making way more money than she was with him, and he's struggling. So now he has to really come to terms with the fact that Melody was right. I took her for granted. However, he can't say that. So what he will say is, you didn't have enough time for me and the kids. You didn't have enough time for us. Again, punishing her for her success. The only reason why you're so successful now is because you're neglecting your kids. That's what he's trying to tell her. That's what he wants people to believe. The reason why she's making so much money is because she's not with the kids. She's doing this and that and the other. Just like when we were married. He wants to bring her back to that space with him. Back in that toxic cycle. And now he's arguing online with her. But he has 2 lines of text for Ariane, who he's been sleeping with for years. For 7 years, 8 years. That's a marriage. That's a common law marriage. He has 2 lines of text for her, but paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs for Melody, trying to make her look bad for her success, trying to juxtaposition her success with a tragedy like sacrificing her children, right? But like neglecting her children. So the reason why you're successful is because you don't take care of your kids. He wants to mar her brand, her reputation, her happiness. He wants to constantly remind her of the negative things that have happened in her life because her balloon's getting too big. And this is psychological warfare that narcissists use. They don't want you to be happy without them. And I said this weeks ago. Martell needs Melody to think about him in order for him to be relevant to himself. In order for him to be significant in his own life, he needs someone of greater significance to give him attention, basically. So I'm going to remind Melody of my existence because I can see she's about to... I can see she's about to go off into the stratosphere of success, leaving me far behind. So now I have to remind her that I exist by tormenting her with bullshit that happened 10 years ago, 7 years ago, 6 years ago, right? On top of that, I want her to feel guilty for her success by making her think that she sacrificed her children and her marriage to get to where she is. That is what he's trying to do also. He's bitter and petty as hell. Okay? Now, Martell does not want Melody working as hard as she's working because he knows that she can get shit done. And he knows that by guilting her and shaming her into spending more time with the kids, that, you know, she won't have as much time to put into the business and her business ventures. She's always been like this since they were married. And he knows this, which is why he was upset with her and started cheating on her to punish her for her ambitions, okay? Her ambitions were okay as long as he was benefiting from them. But once her star grew bigger than his, he wasn't satisfied. And instead of articulating why he wasn't satisfied like an adult, he beat around the bush and said, well, you're not satisfying me. Well, you're not here for the kids. Well, you're not cooking and cleaning, instead of saying, you know what? Your success is making me feel insecure about my inability to keep up with you. That's all he had to say. I'm not sure if he told that before, but that would have nipped the shit in the bud. You being successful and you being beautiful and smart and all this stuff that I value about you is making me feel smaller as a man. And unfortunately, I'm too fucking lazy to, you know, step up to the plate and do my job. So I want you to pull back a little bit to make me look less bad, right? I need you to get B's and C's on your test so that my D doesn't look as bad. That's all. Instead of me getting a C and a B myself, I want to stay at D level. And I need you to be at C and B level with me so that I don't look like, you know, I'm not trying at all. Okay? And it is what it is. So, yeah, Martell, for the last time, he's trying to project his feelings onto his kids. He wants Melody to feel guilty for her success by making her think that she sacrificed her marriage and her children to be successful. Even though during the relationship, Melody fought hard to stay with Martell. And if Martell was really the dominant parent and the primary breadwinner, all of the children would have been in the same home together still, right? Martell made it difficult even for Melody to do the, you know, if Martell wasn't himself, right? If he wasn't him, the kids could have been living in the same house. None of this destruction had to happen. But because Martell is not flexible, he doesn't know how to adapt. He's very stubborn, right? He did not want to make any accommodations whatsoever for Melody. He didn't want to stop seeing his mistress. He didn't want to stop harassing her. He didn't want to give her furniture. He did not want to make any accommodations or compromises for Melody. Now he lost everything. The difference between a person who is blessed and a person who is not so blessed is adaptability. Can you be flexible? Can you adapt to changing circumstances? One of the reasons why I like Melody so much is because she is somebody who knows how to take advantage of opportunities, right? By not licking her wounds and feeling sorry for herself and letting life pass her by and being bitter about things that have happened beyond her control. Melody busted her ass to build a successful company. Unfortunately, she married a man who was trash. And his trash actions had a negative impact on her life. But instead of her saying, fuck you, God, you know, I built all this shit, I worked my ass off, and you put this man in my life, and da 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 da. She said, you know what, God? Thank you for the lesson. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for the freedom. Thank you for my health. Now I can use what I still have remaining to rebuild what I lost. And that is why Melody is winning now and Martell is not winning, because Martell is stubborn and Melody is stubborn too, but she's flexible, right? She has a goal, okay? When you have a goal, one goal, you can take many different routes to that goal. If you don't have a goal, you become more rigid because you don't know where you're going and you're afraid of getting lost. So what you need to do is control everything and everyone around you so that you can feel like you're doing something and you're going somewhere based on their work and their effort, right? If you are a person who has their own independent goals, it doesn't matter what obstacles life throws at you. You can swerve and reach your destination early or on time. Again, Melody rebuilt her whole life within a year and a half because she was able to adapt. Martell didn't want to adapt. He didn't want to let go of Ariane. He did not want to let go of Melody. He did not want to become the dominant parent. He didn't want to do anything but get what he wants exactly the way he wanted, as the way it's been his whole life. He's always gotten what he wanted, by and large. He's been spoiled his whole life, okay? Either he was coddled too much or he was neglected or both, okay? Martell got a lot of credit for things that he did not do. This is one of the reasons why he is linking up with Sheree. He's using another woman who's more successful than him and more powerful than him to get put on another platform, okay, to expand his brand, right, outside of Love Marriage Huntsville. However, because he hasn't built that for himself, it's going to collapse again. Whatever endeavors he has outside of this show is going to collapse because he's still the same person. So if you don't adapt to changing circumstances and you're still a rockhead, and you think the world should revolve around you, you're going to miss opportunities for success. Yes, we all have obstacles, but the way we navigate those obstacles determines how successful we become, right? So yeah, I hope I'm wrong about this. I hope that, Martell can be a better father than he was a husband and not try to brainwash and manipulate his children into resenting their mother for her success, even though her success will benefit them as well. I hope he doesn't do that or try to do that. But again, I know narcissists, so Martell does not surprise me. He disappoints me, but he doesn't surprise me, okay? So for an announcement, I'm going to be posting the weekly tarot readings on my new channel, Mind of Lilith Tarot, later on today. The weekly readings will be on that channel or the new channel, and the monthly readings will be on this channel. I don't want to flood this channel with tarot readings because, I'm still talking about other stuff in social media and things like that. But my new channel will be dedicated specifically to tarot and tarot only. Some of you guys don't know, but I love tarot reading. It's something that makes me feel good. It activates both sides of my brain, right? The left side, which is more analytical, and the right side, which is more creative. And as I'm doing more analytical, technical work, I tend to do more tarot readings to kind of feed that feminine, receptive, intuitive side of myself, instead of just focusing on like the technical course that I'm developing, which will be published next month. That gives me, the tarot readings give me the opportunity to like kind of not get comic relief, but it's just a nice reprieve from just doing a bunch of writing and researching and, cerebral, heady work. As I mentioned before, I will not be doing astrology readings and consultations for the month of September because I'm working on my course, but you can still order tarot readings from the site because they don't take as much time from me. I will resume the astrology readings and consultations in October of this year once I publish the website, okay? All right, guys, look forward to reading your comments. Please like, share, and subscribe, and I will speak to you soon.